across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, what music is that? Hello. Good evening. We'll get the music right in a minute. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you for 3 hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get stuck in, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on... here it is. Hello, here's the music. And call me on 0344 499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It's Friday, May the 16th. Here's what's coming up. We're going to start off with the migrant crisis. Shocking new information emerging today that when these migrants arrive after their illegal 21-mile journey from Calais, from the north coast of France, they arrive here. You'd think, wouldn't you, in our quest to find out who these unknown foreigners are. They'll be interviewed by Home Office officials, by the police, and indeed about 1 in 15 of them are, because they don't have to do it. It's completely voluntary. So most of them just say, no, thanks, and in they come. This is absolutely outrageous. We'll bring you the details of that. Meanwhile, while that farce is unfolding, of course, the Prime Minister's farce in Albania is unfolding in all its lack of glory. What an absolute fiasco. Old Two-Tier goes to Albania, pretty much announces, we're going to set up a return hub with my friend Eddie Rami here, the 9'6" Albanian leader. He's just said he won't do it. I mean, what a joke. What was he doing in Albania? And why did his crack number 10 Downing Street team allow him to walk onto live television in Albania and be humiliated? I keep hearing that this bloke Morgan McSweeney, the chief of staff, is supposed to be, a real ace strategist, a man who plots and plans brilliantly and strategic. He should never have let the Prime Minister in on that situation. He should have found out first. Absolute joke. So basically, the Prime Minister went to Albania for no reason whatsoever. Now he's talking about setting up these return hubs in other Balkan states. Which ones? I can't say at this point. In other words, he hasn't got any deals at all. And by the way, these return hubs, although they're a little bit different, they're basically Rwanda schemes. The £700 million scheme that hadn't started when he became Prime Minister, and he threw it into the bin. He ditched it immediately. It's just a gimmick. Well, now he's trying to set up the same gimmicks in foreign countries elsewhere. I mean, this guy is just a complete joke, is he not? Talking of jokes, that brings me nicely to the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, who is still embroiled in this hilarious taxi fare row in which him and his wife got into a taxi in Bologna in Italy and said, taxi, can you take us to France, the French Alps? There's the back seat of this taxi. It was a Ford car, absolutely filthy. That's how he left it. 6-hour taxi drive. There's been a massive row. The taxi driver said you haven't paid it. David Lammy said it's prepaid. And when David Lammy sort of lost his temper, he started talking about the effing French, because the taxi driver was from Avignon. He was a Frenchman. The effing French. And there's a lot of people who go, that's so xenophobic, so xenophobic. Well, let me tell you, for the first time ever, I rather like David Lammy today. So, that is nonsense. That's not xenophobic. That's what the French and the British do. The French and the English love to insult each other. So, good for Lammy on that one. But who paid that fare? He had been, of course, at the King's State visit, and then went off on a private holiday in the French Alps. I mean, why he chose to get a taxi? 6 hours, 360 miles. I mean, train, something like that, maybe even a plane. I mean, a taxi, but that's what he did. So the big question is, while there's this row's going on, apparently the taxi driver is accused with theft because he drove off in high dudgeon in a fury, as old Lammy was calling him. The effing French. He drove off in a high dudgeon in anger, and in the back of the cab, in the boot, was David Lammy's diplomatic passport. I mean, keep it in your pocket, Dave. Unbelievable. But anyway, my question all week, as we've been reading these hilarious stories, this was April the 10th, by the way, is who paid for this? Because if the Foreign Office paid for it, and by extension taxpayers paid for it, I think that if we must pay for his bill to get on his holiday, it would be incumbent upon him, would it not, to use an economic form of transport and not rip the taxpayers off. So we will bring you the truth about who paid for his taxi fare. Stay tuned for that. Also, we'll bring you the latest on jailed for a tweet mum Lucy Connolly, who has been sobbing again in the dock at the appeal court. Day 2 of her appeal. This, of course, is the poor lady who's doing 31 months, the grotesquely disproportionate sentence she got for a nasty tweet she posted in the middle of the Southport riots. It's not a nice tweet. Calling for them to, be mass deportations and, clamp them all in irons, that kind of stuff. She pulled it down 3 hours later. She was charged with inciting racial hatred and got 31 months. I mean, the joke about it is, it's not a joke, it's a very serious situation. We spoke to her husband, Raymond, nice guy, not so long ago. He's a Tory councillor in Northampton. He was pointing out, others have pointed out, look, she shouldn't be in jail anyway, but she got 31 months. She was hundreds of miles from the riots, just putting nasty, hurty words on Twitter. Actual rioters who were throwing bricks at the cops, setting fire to, or trying to set fire to mosques, got 2 years. They got 7 months less than her. A rape gang member in Telford who was jailed for raping an underage girl, a paedophile rape, he got 2 years. Lucy Connolly, for a few hurty words on Twitter, got 31 months. That is a stain on the British justice system, on Keir's disgraceful two-tier justice system. She's appealing. We hope to God they let her out. She's been pleading to be let out. We'll bring you the latest on that. And at 8 o'clock, in about an hour, we'll be joined by Harry Wilkinson, the head of global warming, the head of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, to talk about the Great British Energy Company, which was ratified, enshrined in law, if you like, yesterday in Parliament. They all go, yes, we're going to have the GB Energy, yes, that company is now a real thing, it's legitimate. The big question is, what the hell is it? No one knows. Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed, the net zero nutter, is going around saying it'll provide thousands of jobs. Well, so far it's provided 1 job for the chairman, 5 non-executive directors, and an interim chief executive. They're still looking for a proper CEO, to whom they will pay a mere £350,000 a year. So far it's got about, 6 employees, with 6.5, if you like, as they look for a full-time CEO. Ed Miliband says thousands of jobs will be created, well-paid jobs. Doing what? What will these people do? Nobody knows what this company is. We'll talk to Harry about that and also talk about generally Crazy Ed's net zero madness. How much longer can we let this maniac destroy this country? He literally is steering Great Britain to hell in a handcart, ruining our industries, giving us the highest energy bills in the country, 5 times higher than America. He said, my marvellous green revolution, your energy bills will go down by £300 almost immediately. So far, they've gone up by £300. How much longer are we going to put up with crazy Ed Miliband? All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. And, of course, it being Friday, I'm with my Friday friend, Pete Barnes. Welcome, Pete.
Hi, Kev. How's it going?
Political strategist, of course, I should have said. Although some of the tweets he's been making about Kemi Baden, I wouldn't let him strategise at my backside. But
oh, that one, I have to admit, I saw that and I was like, no, that's wrong, Kev.
Yeah, me and Pete had a little row on Twitter. But we'll talk about that later. But well, first of all, let's talk about this shocking news. This is a report by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Police. They're a kind of watchdog, but there's former coppers, senior coppers on it. It's basically police watchdog made up of senior law enforcement figures. So it's to be taken very seriously. And they have revealed in this report that so when all these migrants come across the channel illegally, arrive here illegally. The big worry, Pete, among the population of this country, I worry about it, I'm sure you do, millions do. Who are these people? Who are they? We found out last week that one of them, an asylum seeker, was one of the Iranian nationals plotting a terror attack on the Israeli embassy, and we're pretty certain that more of those Iranian nationals arrested in that plot, that was 2 weekends ago, are also asylum seekers, illegal migrants. So this is the point. This is the fear. These people pitch up on our shores and they just, we let them, here's a hotel, here's some food and free food, lawyers, doctors, have a nice time. Don't know who you are, but hey ho, try and be nice, will you? Well, we don't know anything about them. So you think, well, surely they must be interviewed by Home Office officials, by the police, to establish who they are. OK, you could argue, well, many of them might lie because they throw their documents into the sea on the way across the channel. But that isn't the point. They should be interrogated, quizzed. We learn now that before they are interrogated or quizzed by British officials, they are asked this: would you mind doing this? Is that okay with you? Because if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's voluntary. So only 1 in 15 agree to it. Now, the Inspectorate of Police expressed surprise and concern about this. And it also turns out that the Home Office regard organised people trafficking gangs as low priority. Yep. So this is a disgrace, isn't it?
It's absolutely staggering. But somehow it doesn't surprise me, considering the fact that the process that asylum seekers go through anyway is the most lackadaisical thing. It's basically just a rubber stamp and in you come. So this is...
Lackadaisical, that is the word.
It's just... Again, I read this and I was like, this is terrible. And then I was like, why doesn't it surprise me? But it's just this entire story now has just become such parody that the more farcical it becomes, the more unrealistic I think that this is actually happening. But it is really, really important, because we do have to remember that MI5 just a few years ago said the migrant crisis would be exploited by people to get into this country illegally that really shouldn't be here, and we have to be aware of. Yeah. And that basis alone, that one statement, in my opinion, should have been used to declare a national emergency, and we stop this immediately. Anybody comes in on the boat, on a plane, off you go. That should have been the case. But again, as you say, we've got the ones from Iran. It is undeniable that this has been used by bad actors to get into the United Kingdom, and as you say, we don't know who any of these people are. The local councils, when these people are dumped at the hotels, and I use the word dumped because that's what they are, they cannot guarantee that these people are safe to be around. Yeah. So it's a public safety issue. The police don't seem to care. That's the thing that really gets me, is this has been going on for quite some time. Where is Matthew Hewitt in all of this? Do you remember Gold Command? Do you remember
Martin?
Is it Martin?
Yeah.
Martin.
The former senior cop who is now in charge of the Border Security Command. Yeah. The Border Security Command tasks with smashing the gangs. I haven't even found any gangs, let alone smashed them.
How can you even find them if you don't bother asking where they are?
This is just phenomenal.
And just as a basis, I love the phrase that they came up with, saying they were concerned. I bet stronger language was used before that went through the kind of the press office, if I'm being honest, because, you know, some of the old guard of the inspectorate, they must have been just staggered by this, because I cannot put into words just how infuriating this is, because, you know, it means that Keir Starmer has got up in front of the public yet again and lied, because the idea that he didn't know about any of this, that Yvette Cooper doesn't know any of this, it's laughable.
Yeah, listen, folks, everybody out there, let me know what you think about this. But me and Pete, you know, seasoned veterans in this kind of business, you know, you get used to sort of shocking news, but this is breathtaking. This is jaw-dropping. Yeah. So these people coming over, we know nothing about, and we don't even ask them any questions. Surely, the very least, from now on, it's not voluntary. You have to sit down with officials. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
But, do you know, it's interesting, though, because when you look at the asylum claim system, you know, if they are caught lying in that, the lie isn't held against the claim. You know, they don't have to answer the questions in that either. So this idea doesn't really surprise. I think that's the bit that really gets me. But there is an extra bit of this that I find it quite interesting. Is that the Manston, where is one of the main kind of
Manston Airport.
Yeah, it's one of the main kind of processing centres. They don't have access to the PND, the Police National Database. This is one of the biggest databases of all time in terms of all the wrong-uns. Put it that way. It's the wrong-uns list, and, you know, 6.2 billion records. They don't have access to it. Wow. How is that a thing? You know, it's just the simple basics have been missed because nobody seems to care.
But I was saying this the other day, and you would agree. You know, the first duty of a government is to keep its citizens safe. And this open border policy, you know, come one, come all, no questions asked, that presents to us, the people of Britain, a serious danger, a serious threat to our safety, and this government is allowing this to happen. They're allowing all of these illegal migrants to sail illegally across the Channel, pitch up on our beaches and basically say, I claim my 4-star hotel, I claim my free food, I claim my £50 a week, my free doctors, my free dentists, my free lawyers to fight my case, and you aren't allowed to ask me any questions because I don't want to answer them. At which point we should say, well, you know, off you go. You're out of here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What do you think about that, folks? 03444 991 1000. And remember what I told you, and this is just one. When those Iranian terror plot people were all arrested, dramatic police swoops, it was a couple of Saturdays ago. I think there's about 8 of them, and they've been subsequent arrests as well. There's about 8 of them so far. Interesting, no charges yet. So so what they were plotting was carnage. They were plotting a very serious attack on the Israeli embassy here in London. And Isabel Oakeshott and I sat there saying, because people were asking, Richard Tice and Matt Vickers from the Tories, it wasn't just a reform thing, asked the government then, asked the Home Secretary and the Home Office Minister, Dan Jarvis, isn't it? And they said, look, what's the story of these Iranian nationals? How did they get here? Are they illegal? And of course, same old story. Well, it's a police investigation. They've got to stop hiding behind these spurious legal barriers. It's not true.
I love how
it would not have affected the police investigation one bit to know whether or not they were illegal migrants. So this was asked in Parliament. They wouldn't answer. Isabel and I said, I bet you they're illegal. Sure enough, about 5 days later, one of them is revealed to be an asylum seeker living in a taxpayer-funded migrant's house in Rochdale, in which he plotted this terror attack in London. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. And I'll guarantee you, the other 7, I guarantee you, probably most of them are asylum seekers here you know, they got here illegally, so they came here on the boats, and then they're doing this. It's just a disgrace, frankly. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the day that Keir Starmer, didn't he have a lovely time the day that Keir Starmer went to Albania? How's that go, that song? The day that Keir Starmer went to Albania. Anyway, doesn't really fit, but there you go. He went to Albania, and what a fiasco that turned out to be. It really is a humiliation for him and this country. That next, stay tuned.
This is a tried and tested method. It's been working, it's regulated, it's monitored. There are different systems elsewhere in the world. We're not doing that, we're doing the Oregon model, and also we're making it the British model, and that's what's important about today. MPs saying, this is our template, how can we make it as good as possible? So yes, it avoids any loopholes, but it also allows those people who want to let go. Now frankly, most of us will carry on to our last breath. Yeah. Those people in agony, we've got to give them that option, that right, that choice. It's their death, their body. Why can't they have that right to let go?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about the Prime Minister's trip to Albania. I think mercifully he's finally on his way back, but he spent, I think, 2 days of sheer humiliation. And standing next to that enormous 9'2" tall Albanian leader, Eddie Rami, they look like Eddie. They look like the comedy group, don't they? Eddie and Large, Little and Large. Have a look. No, that's the wrong Little and Large. That's the wrong Little and Large. I meant Starmer and Eddie Rama. Honestly, you can't get the staff these days,
you really
can
you?
No, but I mean, so there's this massive guy. Where is Eddie Rama there?
I mean, he's difficult to miss.
That's the wrong leader. Anyway, that's good. That's not him. Yeah. Can we get Eddie Rama, please?
I think if he just stands up, you'll see him from a
minute. Who the hell's that? The big one, the one that's 6'7". Honestly,
the big one.
So how are we doing on that one? Anyway, let's talk while we try to find the right. It's the Albanian Prime Minister, Eddie Rami. He's 6'7". Our Prime Minister's 2'3". He's 6'7" wide. He looks like R2D2 on a bad day. Right, so he goes there, and the idea is, he's got this idea for what he calls return hubs. It's not quite a Rwanda scheme, but it's along the same line. So you start thinking, why are you setting up return hubs for our migrants in foreign countries when... There he is, there's the big guy. That's better. Look at the size of him.
My Lord, where does he find clothes that fit?
Yeah, he
must be like...
he is 6'7".
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's a big guy. But also, he doesn't take any crap from Britain.
No, he definitely doesn't.
So Keir Starmer goes over there, and he's got this plan. He announces, yes, we're going to set up return hubs for our migrants in foreign countries, and Albania will be the first. Eddie Rama, the big guy. No. Not here, you're not going to. We got one deal with Italy, and we're not doing it with you. Now, there actually was absolutely no reason for Starmer and his entourage to go to Albania at all. Now, what I'll ask you, you know the machinery of Westminster and how it works. I mean, Morgan McSweeney's chief of staff. I keep hearing he's a political genius.
Well,
now, how amateurish is it that Morgan McSweeney and the gang sent the Prime Minister onto live Albanian television where he thought he was going to triumphantly announce this migrant hub, return hub in Albania, and on live television, well, we're going to have a return hub here in Albania. Eddie Rama, there, standing up there, goes, no, you're not. On live television.
Yeah,
he should never have been subjected to that humiliation.
Never. He should never have been. However, I do have a theory about it because it's why Keir Starmer's been there today. And it's the bilateral talks with other European leaders. And it's the same thing happening on Friday. It's to do with the UK and EU kind of summit. I have a feeling...
The surrender summit.
Yes, but this is the point. I have a feeling that this was all orchestrated to give Starmer a bit of a kicking and the UK a bit of a kicking for daring to look away from the EU. I have a
Oh, you mean by the EU?
By the EU.
Yes.
Set him up. I think they set him up.
Interesting.
Because, like I said, Morgan McSweeney is a not a, I don't think he's a political genius, but he's not that dumb.
Thick.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to admit, he should not have gone up there in the way that it was.
I say never trust anyone with ginger hair.
Well, yeah. I can see
That's a joke, folks. That's a joke, folks.
But
Prince Harry.
Yeah. But
no, seriously, go on.
Yeah, but this is my theory because we've always said that after Brexit, that whenever we were going to go back to the EU, if that was ever going to, we would never get the same terms, and it would be a punishment deal. I think this was part of Keir Starmer's punishment for daring to think about Trump.
I hadn't thought about that angle. Either way,
only because of what's happened today.
Yeah, but if it was back in Thatcher's day, or when they had really good people around them, if you were involved, you leave no stone unturned. A proper operation.
Yeah.
If you're right, if he was sort of ambushed deliberately, a proper Downing Street operation would have discovered that, would have saved the humiliation for Starmer and by extension this country of what happened in Albania is off the scale.
It's incredible, but then you kind of have to go back to the point of why are we doing this? The return hubs idea, well, let's be real, it was actually an idea within a UN paper about what to do with the migrant crisis. It's basically, like you say, it's Rwanda light, but
it is Rwanda light.
It's the
only
only
difference being, let's explain the difference. By the way, Steve from East Yorkshire, thanks for your seriously, thank you very much for your WhatsApp. Well, no, it's a message. What do you call them?
Voice note.
No, not the other one. The ones you I can't remember. Text.
Remember text?
Text. Thank you very much, Steve in East Yorkshire, for your text. What an idiot!
Is it 9 o'clock?
No, he explains it. Why don't I read it out? It's very, very informative. Starmer's Balkan migrant plan, because he wants to the Balkan. Albania is a Balkan state, and he's talking about other Balkan states as well. Starmer's Balkan migrant plan isn't the same as the Rwanda plan. Under the Rwanda plan, illegal migrants would be sent there to have their asylum claims processed. Under Starmer's plan, migrants will only go to a Balkan return hub centre after they and their lawyers have exhausted the asylum claims process. In other words, they've been turned down. Well, that limits the numbers, doesn't it? They've had their applications refused, and Steve goes on to say, and only at the end, if that claim is refused, do they end up at these return hubs. Given that almost, this is the point I was just making, Steve says, given that almost all illegal migrants are allowed to stay anyway, hardly any of them will go to the Balkans, but Starmer's plan will still cost us billions. Really good text there, Steve. Thanks very much. But yeah, it does explain it. But the principle's the same.
It's the exact same principle.
It is. We've got these minor. What the hell are we going to do with them? Boris's solution. It started under him. Well, it wasn't his idea, but it was under Boris's calamitous premiership. They came up with the Rwanda scheme, which was let's get them out of the country. Let's get them somewhere else. A foreign country. Let's find a foreign country that needs a few quid. Bung them a load of bunts, and we can fly our people there. So Starmer, of course, is a gimmick. you know, and of course it went against his socialist principle, inhumane, and all this kind of human rights, and so on and so forth. So he threw that in the bin day one of his premiership. £700 million had been spent. Loads of people go, oh, the Rwanda scheme didn't work. The Rwanda scheme didn't start. That idiot ditched it, axed it, nixed it, without even trying it, having wasted, and in so doing, immediately wasted our £700 million investment in that scheme. And now, in effect, he's trying to set up the same kind of scheme.
Without
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
But again, it doesn't surprise me. I'd go back to what Yvette Cooper said when she said it was the biggest waste of taxpayers' money I've ever seen. You threw it in the bin. I mean, just have some level of self-awareness.
Wouldn't have been if you'd have...
Yeah. Because the thing is, you look at the statistics, before, when it was kind of creeping in that it might be likely, the numbers started to reduce. Starmer got rid of it, the numbers didn't just increase, they skyrocketed. Because we have no deterrent. That's the point. Even if the threat of Rwanda was actually enough to kind of quell the numbers, actual Rwanda, just one flight, could have changed this entire debate.
Yeah, but you're damn right. I mean, it was beginning to have some kind of a deterrent effect already, even though it wasn't really operating at all. And, you know, I'm sure, like me, Pete, a lot of us had reservations about the plan. But it was certainly, after £700 million worth of investment, it was certainly worth a try. The day he ditched it, the British state was paying for several hotels. There were staff there, there were gardeners, there were waiters. We were paying for all that the day he ditched it.
Yeah, so this is the point. They always say that, oh, it would have cost so much money. Compared to what we're paying now, do you know where it's like billions on the accommodation, let alone what we pay on everything else? It's absolutely amazing. I still think the Rwanda deal would have been cheaper than what we've got now. I'd really like to see the numbers on that, but my gut is saying that all cumulatively together, because the argument was always the number of people that you needed on the flight and the first aiders and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, all you'd have to do is change the law. You could do that by statutory instrument. That's not difficult to do. Yeah. So you could reduce that. Once you get the flights off the ground, as we saw, it was having a reducing effect. So it just was such a child's move to throw it in the bin because the Tories came up with it.
Sorry, mate, I'm just looking at the pictures of Eddie Rama and Eddie Large, Large as we now call him. Eddie Rama. I mean, to be fair to Starmer, that guy would tower over anyone.
I was going to say,
but it is funny. It is funny. And so this trip was a fiasco. Yeah, it was. Utter fiasco. And of course, Starmer tried to sort of talk his way out of it. Oh no, we've got other states in mind for our return hubs. Which ones? At the right time, I will be able to review. He hasn't got any states. Yeah. Look, if he's talking about, for example, Serbia. Serbia is not a third world country. It's not going to be going, oh, if you've got a few quid, we'll take them. These Balkan states, they're not that poor. No. They don't need a few billion quid from us. So this assumption that we can just go around the world picking off these countries and saying, OK, if we dump a bunch of terrorists on you know, they're going to say no.
Yeah, I know. I've never understood this mentality. You know, what I find the most interesting, though, is Trump is still sniffing around Rwanda for their kind of
don't forget the EU have looked at it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
It's a ready-made scheme.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know, it's purpose built.
Oven ready, as Boris used to say.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to lie. If I was at the Commission, I'd have pushed to do that just to stick it to Starmer. Yeah. I really would have, just as a personal thing. But you know, it really gets me, because Rishi Sunak was a really big proponent of this scheme. He really did believe in it, and you know, he was getting a lot of international kind of recognition for saying this is where it's going to go. Britain was just a little bit of ahead of the curve, and I do think mainly for the first country to do it, Rwanda may not have been the right choice. However, there is a little bit of sense of kind of colonialism and, you know, a little bit of looking down on Africa. The way that people spoke about Rwanda, I thought there was some questionable
I thought a lot of the critics, the opponents of it, who started talking about it, you know, they're homophobic.
Yes, exactly.
They started treating them like a bunch of primitives. Yeah. So the objections that they had to Rwanda, I thought was racist.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was bordering on racism, you know, sort of, as you say, a colonial attitude to these savages, these homophobic savages. You know, Rwanda's had its problems in the past, but there's no suggestion now that it's homophobic at all. But that we digress there. We should have tried the Rwanda scheme. Now he's trying watered-down versions in countries we know not where, nor does he. As I say, this idea, you just go around the world and say, hey, can we dump a load of migrants on you? Don't know anything about them. A lot of them are probably terrorists. All right with you. It's not going to happen. This is just a joke. This is just a joke.
It's interesting that Starmer's team have got played off the pitch. Because he did it, they couldn't convince Biden over Ukraine. They couldn't convince Trump over tariffs. They can't convince Albania over this. The India trade deal and the American trade deal, absolutely laughable. Starmer's team are not equipped or capable enough of putting Britain first on knowing they just get played off the field. It's like a training match.
Exactly right. They're just incompetent. They're just useless. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Talking they're useless. Next up, we're going to talk about David Lammy and that mysterious taxi ride. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about another fiasco, the farce of Foreign Secretary David Lammy's extraordinary 6-hour, 360-mile taxi ride. I mean, you know, taxi! Could you take me to another country, please? I mean, who does that? He picked up the taxi. To be fair, he'd been in Italy for the King's state visit back in April the 10th, I think it was. That was over, and, you know, Lammy's entitled to a little personal holiday, and that's what him and his wife, Rosalind Green, artist, very good artist. I like her work. That's what they decided to do, to take a quick break in the French Alps. Seems odd to me that from Bologna to the French Alps, the best way they could think of doing it was by taxi, but that's what they decided. And since then, the most almighty row has unfolded. You've been seeing it all over the front pages of the paper, particularly The Sun, which has been leading the way on this. Very good exclusive, fantastic exclusive picture of the filthy mess our slob of a foreign secretary left the car in. Look at that, what a slob. Anyway, when it arrived, this taxi, when they arrived finally at their destination in the French Alps, there seems to have been some kind of confusion. Lammy, the total bill was, I'll say it in pounds, was £1,305. So it's probably about 1,500 euros. That was the bill. Now, Lammy insists that it was totally prepaid. This taxi driver, a guy called Nassim Mamoun, a Frenchman who lives in Avignon, he said that only some of it was prepaid, and that Lamy owed him €700, the €700 difference. That's the best part, that's 588 quid, best part of £600. Lamy was furious and said, "Oh no, massive row." Apparently, Lamy was slamming the back seat of the car and everything, and lost his temper and started shouting at this guy, "Effing French, effing French."
Hope for him yet?
Yeah. It's the first time I've ever liked David Bowie, David Lamy, and. At this point, the taxi driver, furious as well, and he says he was frightened as well, just drove off with some of Lamy and his wife's luggage or possessions still in the backseat, including his diplomatic passport. Keep your diplomatic passport in your inside pocket, Dave. God's sake. Anyway, he drove off with it, and now that taxi driver is apparently facing charges of theft. So it's the most god-awful row. Now, amid all this, my big question, it was a Ford Cougar, by the way, whatever that is, the car. My big question was, OK, if he wants to have a holiday, that's fine. And if he chooses to go by taxi, but who paid for this?
Oh, yeah.
Who paid for this? If it was the Foreign Office, and by extension the government, by extension British taxpayers, then it's incumbent upon the Foreign Secretary, it's his duty, right, to find a much cheaper,
part of the ministerial code.
Yeah, an economic way to get there. So I've got for you now an extremely disappointing exclusive. Nobody has sought to find that out. My crack team, Fariza and Samara, did today spend all day trying to get the truth out of the Foreign Office. Who paid? They kept saying this is a matter of legal dispute. We cannot comment too much, but it was prepaid, and this is Mr. Lamy is the victim here. And we go, yeah. But who paid? Did the government pay? Did British taxpayers have to pay this bill? So we finally, I'm not kidding you, it took us about 7 hours to get an answer. So this is an exclusive. A really disappointing exclusive. David Lamy did pay it. David Lamy paid it personally.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But what a mess.
I know, yeah. But it's interesting that it only took you 7 hours. I thought it would have been longer, really. I don't know, but in all seriousness, that is quite interesting because the way that the comms team at the Labour Party and the government right now are treating a lot of these instances is terrible. But, I mean, David, do you know they always say, well, who would you least like to get stuck in a lift with? I think 6 hours in a taxi with David Lamy might be up there on the worst things you could ever do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just can't think how horrible that would be. But again, this just seems to be a mess. But only David Lamy can find himself in this mess.
Yeah.
Do you know, he's one of those people that this stuff happens around.
Yeah.
But again,
let me. This is look. Where also he is one of the cabinet secretaries, one of the great offices of state, and he is supposed to be guarded around the clock.
So that was going to be my next question.
Where was the security?
Yeah, where were they? Because if I remember right, one of his security guards actually, didn't she say that she was frightened of him and took a step back because of how angry he got?
I'm not sure.
Because he is known to have a very bad temper.
He's got a temper.
Very bad temper.
He's got a temper. But I don't think there was any sign of a security.
No.
I think they just went off on their own. Now, there are the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and the Home Secretary, and also the Chancellor of the Exchequer. They are the 4 great officers of state, and they are the 4 cabinet secretaries who get round-the-clock security, round-the-clock guards. And the question is where's Lamy's? You can't really do this. No. Just go off on your own and leaving your diplomatic passport in the boot. I mean, this guy's not up to it, is he?
No, I mean, I think I said this the day he got appointed. I said, well, that's the end of Britain, because that's our top diplomat at a time when we've got Russia, Ukraine, we've got Gaza going on, we've got China on the rise, we've got all this stuff happening, and that's our top diplomat. You want to sum up why this country's in a mess? That man.
Yeah, he is supposed to be our leading international diplomat, and there he is getting out of the taxi shouting about the effing French. Anyway, of course, all the po-faced Guardianists are going, this shows a disconcerting streak of xenophobia in the Foreign Secretary. Well, as I say, you know, how many of us have said the effing French? Look, I think the relationship between the French and the British, we love to hate each other. We always have. And the truth is that in concept, in principle, you know, I detest France and I hate the French. But I love France as a country, and I really like French people. Yeah. It's a sort of conceptual...
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like, you know, the English hate the Scots, but the Scots and the Welsh get on because they don't like the English. It's the great unifying thing. It's not everybody getting on. It's hate. Hate is the great unifier. And, you know, and like you said, it's a bit of fun. It's like the relationship there is, you know, we give as good as we get. Yeah. But like you said, it's the kind of, oh, you know, that's absolutely terrible. Yeah. It's just, for God's
sake, let's not get pompous about this. You know, this is a British man talking about the French, just as the French talk about us. And if you want to sum up the way we've always felt about each other, prophylactics, you know, condoms. We, of course, call them French letters, and the French call them English hats. Yeah. Chapeau anglais. So you see what I mean? That sums it up. So I have no problem with him shouting about the effing French, but he does have a temper, and perhaps as Britain's leading diplomat it wasn't his finest hour, but then again he's got a lot of other unfine moments to talk about. I just should read you the Foreign Office spokesman's comment. We totally refute these allegations. The fare was paid in full. There you go. So the Foreign Secretary and his wife are named as victims in this matter, and the driver has been charged with theft. As there is an ongoing legal process, it would be inappropriate to comment further. It doesn't matter if it's another country. I mean, if you're going to make these statements, can you at least find out about the law? You don't have to worry about French legal processes. So, you know, there you have it. He paid for the fare. He says he paid all of it. The taxi driver says, no, only part of it. Apparently, the taxi driver's now charged with theft, but I just got this feeling we haven't heard the last of it. So, three things. Funny that he started shouting about the effing French. That is funny, and I quite like him for that. But as our leading diplomat, perhaps he needs to control his temper, and if he wants to spend money on these very expensive taxi rides, that's up to him. But what a slob to leave it in that mess. What a slob.
That right there is why I don't get Ubers for other people, because it's just awful. But again, somehow that doesn't surprise me either. I'd love to know what his office looks like, if that's how he leaves a taxi cab.
Shall I put out to the audience? So what's your worst insult to the French? You can call in with that if you like, but we probably won't be able to talk. But seriously, let's not talk about that. But it is quite funny. I think our relationship, our fractious relationship with the French is very funny, always has been, source of great humour, and neighbouring countries always have the same attitude. They never get on with each other.
It's the same with any kind of friendship. It's always based on insults.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think we all deep down like the French. I love France, and as I say,
over there.
I honestly don't think I've met a Frenchman I didn't like. They're nice people, I always find. But anyway, when we come back, it's time to check in on poor Lucy Connolly, the jailed for a tweet mum, doing 31 months for posting hurty words on Twitter during the Southport riots when she was hundreds of miles away. Why is she doing 31 months? And for God's sake, let her out. But her appeal has been going on for 2 days now. We'll catch up with that story after this break. Stay where you are.
This is a tried and tested method. It's been working, it's regulated, it's monitored. There are different systems elsewhere in the world. We're not doing that, we're doing the Oregon model, and also we're making it the British model, and that's what's important about today. MPs saying, this is our template, how can we make it as good as possible? So yes, it avoids any loopholes, but it also allows those people who want to let go. Now frankly, most of us will carry on to our last breath.
Yeah.
Those people in agony, we've got to give them that option, that right, that choice. It's their death, their body. Why can't they have that right to let go?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about Lucy Connolly now. She's on day 2 of her appeal in the appeal court here in London. She's been sobbing in the dock, basically saying, please let me free. She's got a 12-year-old daughter who she hasn't been allowed to see now. She's been in jail, you know, obviously since last summer. I think it's about 290 days now. And, you know, by common consent, she tweeted something that you can't condone. It was a nasty tweet about, you know, deporting all the migrants and setting fire to them and all that kind of stuff. And she said, if that makes me racist, so be it. Now, she was hundreds of miles away. She was furious, like a lot of people. She's a mum. She was furious for the poor 3 mothers of those 3 little girls who were slaughtered by that animal Rudy Cabana in the Southport dance hall. So she was particularly heightened in her emotions because a year ago she lost her son, her little boy. So she was particularly acutely sensitive to the pain of mothers who lose their children. So she was in a heightened state, and she tweeted something that wasn't a great idea. There it is, mass deportations, set fire to the hotels, for so on and so forth, or for all I care. You know, it's horrible. It was horrible. But you know, she wasn't the only one. And frankly, hurty words. She's in Northampton, hundreds of miles from Southport, and she got a longer sentence than some of the actual rioters. So it's ridiculous, grotesque. As I said earlier, one of the rape gang guys down in Telford who raped a child, an underage girl, got 2 years. So 7 months less than Lucy Connolly. So there are extenuating circumstances, there are mitigating circumstances that mean she must be let out. But more than that, Pete, my feeling is in a Western democracy, no one should ever go to jail for what they tweet, for what they put on Facebook. It's an affront, isn't it?
It is, and it's terrifying as well, because what really gets me is I get the feeling that the CPS and the state itself wanted this. And they moved heaven and earth to make it happen, and they're doing this deliberately to keep her there. You know, they're putting so much resources into these legal battles, and it just really doesn't make much sense to me. But then if you look at it, Keir Starmer, if you use him as the example, he has a rep on this because he was involved in the Robin Hood airport incident where a man tweeted about wanting to blow up the airport because he lost his suitcase. Keir Starmer directed the CPS to prosecute him on that basis. There is precedent for this happening.
He's a tyrant.
It is. He really, really is. And it is terrifying because freedom of speech, the right to criticise and the right to say these things is the fundamental basis of our society. Your right to criticise and say what you like is so important, because once that starts to be chipped away, anything else can be chipped away. And it is... I don't think people really understand just how dangerous these moves actually are, because it's always done, if you notice, to kind of protect people. It's done to protect this little group or protect that lot. It's not. This is done to really wield the power of the state and to push a political ideology through the court,
that's right,
not through the law.
So Lucy is Lucy is the wife of a Tory MP, Tory councillor, a guy called Raymond. He was a guest on this show a few weeks back. Nice guy. guy. Absolutely devastated.
Yes, yeah.
He said, I'm trying to bring up our 12-year-old girl myself. The girl, apparently, there are where's my mum, behavioural problems. Lucy's not allowed to see her, has never been allowed back. Usually mums are given leave to go back home to visit their kids. No such luck for Lucy. And this is what she tweeted, by the way. Mass deportation now. Set fire to all the effing hotels full of the bees for all I care. If that makes me racist, so be it. She has apologised for that. 3 hours later, she thought, oh dear, better put it down. By then, 300,000 people had looked at it.
So this is the interesting bit. Someone's got to tell me what is the impact of that tweet and how does it justify? And this is the bit. If you're going to put somebody in prison, take away their liberties, take away their freedom for that long, you've got to give me some kind of markers as to what impact it's had, because that's a gross overstep.
So she got done for inciting racial hatred. Now, of the 385 people who went to jail with indecent haste, the rioters all over the country, many of them got a terrible deal as well. Disproportionately heavy sentences. If you recall, while most people, most suspects, most defendants have to wait like 2 years before they even get a sniff of a courtroom. These people were in court within 2 days and in jail within 4. It was extraordinary. Quite clearly, the magistrates and the judges were under instructions from the government, from Starmer, to come down on these people like a ton of bricks. It was a disgusting spectacle, two-tier justice in all its lack of glory. So she's out of the 385 people who went to jail, 12 went for social media posts. Now, none of those 12 should go to jail, and we should never send anyone to jail again for what they write. The people in America, Joe Rogan, for example, were looking across the Atlantic and going, what the hell is going on in the United Kingdom?
America is absolutely aghast at this.
I am. You are.
Well, this is the interesting thing, is Britain was always seen as the sensible one in the world, and then somehow we lost our minds and we just went mental with this stuff. And it's because people with agendas got into power by the back door and are using the apparatus of the state to push this stuff, not through Parliament, through the courts and other ways. That's the important bit here.
Absolutely. So let me know what you think, folks. Lucy Connolly, day 2 of her appeal. We must let her out, surely. And while we're at it, how about the other 11 people still doing time for tweets, for posts on Facebook and Instagram? That is a stain on our justice system. We shouldn't be putting people in prison for what they write, for hurty words. It's not right. It's not right. And let Lucy Connolly out. Free Lucy Connolly. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. After the break, we'll be talking about Crazy Ed and net zero lunacy. Stay tuned for that.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Pete Barnes, political strategist, my Friday friend. You know, it's the Eurovision Song Contest tomorrow night.
You're really asking the wrong person.
Well, no. I mean, you know, it doesn't particularly interest me. But so it's tomorrow night in Switzerland, and I've never seen less coverage.
I'm thrilled.
I think that the nation, might finally have got bored of that nonsense.
Yeah.
But the band, our band, what are they called? Remember Monday or something? Can someone tell me that? Is it Remember Monday? Monday Remember? What are they called? Look, the production team just talking among themselves. They're not at all interested in my question. Is it Remember Monday? It is, isn't it? Yeah. It's producers now going... Remember Monday, and the song I'm personally furious about. The song is called What the Hell Just Happened.
No way.
That's theft. That's stealing from my TV show. OK, it hasn't got what the hell in, but it's bad enough. So don't vote for them. Right, so talking of what just happened, that starts in an hour. It's a special edition tonight because we do a lot of taste testing of Meghan's food. You may have seen earlier in the week I taste tested Meghan's jam. Well, on my TV show, which you can see tonight in an hour, it'll be on YouTube tomorrow as of about 9 a.m. and then you can watch it anytime you want, whenever. We taste test her cookies. Now, I made the cookies. It took hours. Really difficult. You know, it's like I felt like I was Gordon Ramsay or something. Anyway, they finally came out. They're all right. You saw when we tasted the jam, it's like, nah. You know, it's okay, but it's not a business. And then the cookies, you'll find out what we thought of them later on. But here's a little taster, if I can put it that way, of tonight's show. What just happened in 1 hour. Check it out. Well, first of all, should we try the cookies?
Yeah, do the cookies.
My delicious cookies from... with edible flowers on them, as you can see. Well, Samara, here we are.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like to take two and pass one.
There we go. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Untouched by human hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Very clean.
Right, OK, well, let's go.
Try this.
Oh, my God.
That's so insulting.
That is insulting.
Don't be so insulting.
No, it's not. I don't want to diminish. It's just so bland, Kev.
I quite like it. I think Kev's done a good job on these, and I think it looks beautiful.
I've never been so insulted in my life. Samara goes.
Wow.
That's my producer, who is also, of course, one of the co-stars of What Just Happened. Not exactly, you know, kind of feeding my ego when it comes to my culinary skills there. But she hated them. She hated them.
Tell us what you really think about it.
But I mean, they're just sort of nothing, really. They're all right. Anyway, there's more of that, and we try the jam and all that tonight. But lots of other stuff as well. So I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you tune in more than that. 9 o'clock tonight. It'll come straight on after this show, and also tomorrow morning around about 9 o'clock, 9:30. It goes live, and then you can watch it anytime you like on YouTube. Plug done. Now, let's talk about net zero. Now, this week, yesterday I believe it was, GB Energy, this is Crazy Ed Miliband's net zero company. We're not quite sure what the hell it is, but it was ratified, if you like, by Parliament. It became law. It was voted through. So GB Energy is now the official company of the government that has something to do with net zero. Ed Miliband says it will provide well-paid jobs for thousands of people. As we were discussing earlier, so far as we can work out, it's paid well-paid jobs for about 7 people, 1 chairman, 5 non-executive directors, and 1 temporary interim chief executive. They're still looking for another chief executive. But as to what this company is supposed to do, I don't know. Nobody can quite work out what it is. I wonder if our next guest is going to join us now to sort of talk all things net zero, all things climate crisis for the next half an hour ago. I'm very pleased he is going to join us. So I wonder if he can help us explain what the hell GB Energy is. He is the head of global warming policy, the head of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, Harry Wilkinson. Welcome, Harry.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, you heard us there. We're in a total state of confusion. GB Energy is now an official company, but ratified by Parliament. It's got a chairman. It's got 5 non-executive directors. It's got an interim chief executive. They're looking for a full-time 350 grand a year CEO, a full-time one. And Ed Miliband, the Net Zero Secretary, says it will provide well-paid jobs for thousands of people. Now, you're the expert, Harry. Could you explain to us what the hell GB Energy is?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the limited number of jobs, which all seem to be very senior. You know, this does seem to be a bit of a boondoggle for people who are on the climate change grift. You know, this is about patting themselves on the back, creating the impression that there is this nationalized energy company. The fact is, even though it's a huge waste of money, it's still nothing like on the scale that you would need to make an impact to energy prices at a national level. This is backing, you know, a handful of sites. It's just had this one site that it's invested in now. They say it's about paying money back to the British people, but who's paying for the energy that they produce? Of course, it's British energy bill payers who are then paying that money to then come back to us. So it's a strange circle in which we pay expensive renewables to then get a little bit of that money back because we're shareholders in renewable energy projects. You know, what the justification for this is a mystery. It seems to be only clear to Ed Miliband. And of course, you know, they're nowhere near hitting that target of getting energy bills down by £300. And this is really what it comes down to, because this is really important for people to understand. And Miliband says by building loads of more wind and solar energy, he can get bills down. But what the data shows is that actually, as we've been increasing our reliance on wind and solar, we've increased all the underlying costs that are in people's energy bills. Those are the costs for the network. We've had to expand the grid infrastructure, all these extra power lines to meet all these renewable energy installations, which are far more dispersed because they don't generate as much energy as, say, a nuclear power station or a gas power station would do. They are much more dispersed over a larger area to generate an equivalent amount of energy. So you need a lot more physical infrastructure to be able to link that up to the grid. So that's been driving high cost. The actual cost of the subsidies themselves have been going on people's bills. And so all of these have been gradually building up over time to the point where they're now contributing a very large proportion of people's bills. And of course, gas prices go up and down. And, you know, Ed Miliband may benefit temporarily from gas prices recently coming down, but actually those underlying costs are going to keep rising as we keep subsidizing renewables even more. So unfortunately, any reprieve will be temporary if we keep on this road that Ed Miliband is pushing us on, because he's planning to just subsidize more and more renewables. What's fascinating at the moment is actually, even when they're being offered these very generous prices through what's known as the contracts for difference subsidy scheme, you know, even these high prices are not being accepted by the companies. They want even more money for these projects. Ørsted, one of the big offshore wind companies, just decided it wouldn't go ahead with Hornsea 4, which was a massive offshore wind energy farm out in the North Sea, but they want even more money because they don't think it's going to be viable at the very generous prices that they've got. So, you know, all the direction of travel is unfortunately in higher energy prices. Ed Miliband just doesn't have a clue, and he's got no plan for how that will actually be reduced.
It's still, to me, Harry, very confusing. So Jürgen Meyer is the chairman of GB Energy. Apparently, it's going to be headquartered in Aberdeen.
That's convenient.
But Jürgen Meyer, I'm told, will be working in Manchester, so already it's sounding rather incoherent. And this is a quote from a guy called Ian Murray, Scottish Secretary, who's rather keen on all this. He said, this is what he said. Headquartered in Aberdeen, Great British Energy will help unlock tremendous opportunities for Scotland, particularly in harnessing our abundant renewable energy resources. We then go on to find out that this state-owned company won't supply power to homes, because at first people thought, well, perhaps the government's going to offer us a nice cheap alternative to the other power companies, but no. But what it will do is invest in new renewable technology as well as green projects. Well, it's already apparently investing £200 million, for example, funding new rooftop solar power and renewable energy schemes for schools, hospitals and communities, helping them save on their energy bills. So in what way, I mean, Ed Miliband seems to imply that somehow GB Energy is going to make us all much better off. It's going to, in what way? I still don't understand it. It's spending money. It's spending money, it's investing £200 million on solar panels for schools, etc. But in what way will we get any money back from that?
Well, you're quite right. This is moving money around. It's not actually reducing the cost of the energy system. And that's one thing that's quite important when it comes to rooftop solar schemes. You know, while it can be working for maybe the person or the organisation who has solar panels on their roof, you know, they're being reimbursed at a rate that's maybe too generous, because this is not valuable electricity that's being provided. In the wholesale market, we see prices go negative sometimes when there's actually loads of wind on the grid, or lots of solar energy, and there isn't the actual demand for that energy. So, you know, during these periods, you don't actually want a lot of solar energy off roofs. It's actually important to not be overloading the grid with excess energy in those times. So if we really want to have an efficient approach to energy production, you know, just having rooftop schemes is actually not going to fix any of these big underlying issues. So, and Miliband is, I think, providing something that sounds nice. You know, it will help particular people, maybe if they're being generously reimbursed for this arguably valueless energy, but it's not going to fix Britain's underlying energy problems. So, you know, we do desperately need a different approach, because we have the most expensive energy prices in the developing world. These rooftop solar panels aren't going to provide industrial grade energy to the kind of high-tech manufacturing that we want to bring back to the UK. It's just not a considered approach, and it's not going to revitalise our economic future.
No, exactly right. So Ed Miliband here says, Great British Energy comes from a simple idea. British people should own and benefit from our natural resources. So far, so good. We are giving people a stake in clean energy and delivering profits for the British people as part of our plan for change. This will make us a clean energy superpower and help bring down energy bills for good. I mean, you know, it sounds all right, but it just doesn't really make any sense. There's no coherence there. It's not cogent. I mean, in what way, Harry, would you envisage that nonsense we've just been listening to, in what way will that provide thousands of well-paid jobs?
Well, it won't, and this is an unfortunate myth that has been told to many people in industries that have been hit by carbon taxes. It's not only, you know, coal power stations that have shut down. We've seen Grangemouth oil refinery shut down because of high ETS costs, and actually Keir Starmer is potentially just about to negotiate a deal where he links UK ETS prices. That's our emissions trading scheme, basically a carbon tax on energy-intensive businesses. So that might be about to go up because Keir Starmer wants to link us to the EU scheme that we left. We left it, and then we found our own carbon taxes actually came down in price in recent years, and he wants to push that up again. So that will make the situation even worse again. And what's being told to all these people who are losing their jobs in these manufacturing and high energy intensive sectors is that, we'll reskill you and you'll be able to work in renewables. And that just hasn't been happening. And these sites have actually not seen many jobs associated with them. They've been temporary jobs. A lot of those manufacturing jobs have been in China. It is just simply not stacking up. These people aren't reskilling. They're simply losing their jobs and becoming unemployed, or perhaps deciding not, if they're at a certain stage in their career, maybe deciding to take early retirement. It's a tragic situation. Places like Aberdeen, I think, where Great British Energy is located, is going through a really tough time.
I read, Harry, that as many as, because of Ed's closing down of further drilling for gas and oil in the North Sea and further exploration, that as many as 200,000 jobs are at risk. In fact, they'll probably go. He's going to find these 200,000 people new jobs for GB Energy. This is fantasy land stuff. So listen, let's go to break now. When we come back, let's concentrate on Crazy Ed and his crackpot schemes, because it's all very well to laugh at this guy, but it's really, really worrying what he's doing to this country. So we'll talk about Ed and some of his plans after this break. Stay where you are, Harry.
This is a tried and tested method. It's been working, it's regulated, it's monitored. There are different systems elsewhere in the world. We're not doing that, we're doing the Oregon model, and also we're making it the British model, and that's what's important about today. MP saying, this is our template, how can we make it as good as possible? So yes, it avoids any loopholes, but it also allows those people who want to let go. Now frankly, most of us will carry on to our last breath. Yeah. Those people in agony, we've got to give them that option, that right, that choice. It's their death, their body. Why can't they have that right to let go?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So with Pete Barnes, of course, and also with the head of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, Harry Wilkinson. We've been trying to unravel what the hell GB Energy, Crazy Ed Miliband's company, is all about. I think we've sort of come somewhere, but it's not going to work. It's a joke. But so, Harry, is so much of the rest of his plans. I mean, they're beyond belief. I think, you know, the madness of Miliband is, with his unscientific claptrap, is frankly hurtling Britain towards, you know, to hell in a handcart. You know, losing thousands of jobs, the economy going down the pan. It will, the more we do this. Industries will be ruined. And of course, you know, this is the guy that came in, if you are bringing all these green policies, and within months, you know, your energy bills will have gone down by £300. They've gone up by £300. In fact, our energy bills are the highest in the world, 5 times higher than America. We're not allowed to frack. We're not allowed to drill for oil. We're not allowed to use coal, and so on and so forth. This is disastrous. And I think, you know, he's also... I went to Cornwall recently on a quick holiday, and you drive through Britain, the country's been vandalised with these enormous, euphemistically named solar farms. They're solar factories. They're like these glass factories that used to be fields. Hideous. And these vast windmills everywhere. So there's this the bird blender windmills, by the way, that kill enormous amounts of wildlife. That doesn't get enough discussion. We should think about that a lot more. But I think the epicentre of the frightening insanity of Britain's net zero derangement is the Drax power station in North Yorkshire, where that is Britain's biggest power station, massive place, used to, until 4 years ago, run on coal. That coal was mined, a couple of mines 30 miles away. Coal brought 30 miles to Drax, boom, nice little operation. Cheap, efficient, massive power station. I think it supplies as many as like 10 million
Huge
people.
Employer, big thing to the
big
economy.
employer, big employer. In come the net zero mob. These were the Tories, to be fair. They were just as bad as Ed, almost. We can't do that. We've got to use renewables. Oh, no, we've got to save the planet. So they closed down the coal mines. It no longer uses coal from 30 miles away. It transports wood pellets from North America and Canada. By the way, destroying lovely forests in North America and Canada along the way, turns into wood pallets, put into very eco-unfriendly massive tankers, ferried all the way across the Atlantic, all the way to Drax, fed into the power station. And by the way, wood pellets put loads and loads of carbon emissions into the sky, and the cost is astronomical financially, and also the cost is pretty great ecologically as well. This is just barking mad, isn't it, Harry?
If there's one site that symbolises the madness of net zero, it surely is the Drax power station. And, you know, you're right to point to former governments as well. You know, it wasn't just Miliband doing crazy things on net zero. You might remember Alok Sharma standing by a coal power station, cheering as he blew up that power station and watched it end its life, as if this was a marvellous thing. Of course, people were losing jobs, and, you know, the Labour Party, which once, you know, fought big political battles to save people in coal mines, now also cheered on the Tories as they blew up coal power station. So a huge political reversal. It's interesting now, actually, the unions are seemingly waking up to the threat of net zero. You know, we would have expected the unions maybe to defend some of the people working in those coal power stations at the time. They didn't do it at the time, but now I think unions like GMB in particular are actually saying, you know, where are these green jobs? Where are the renewables jobs that have been promised? And they just don't see them coming. They see unionized, high-skilled, high-paid jobs disappearing, and they don't see anything equivalent coming in its place. And I think, you know, this is the inevitable road that we'll have to go on when we are still governed by the Climate Change Act. And whoever replaces Ed Miliband, if he is replaced as Energy Secretary, they will be in exactly the same bind and probably introducing the exact same kind of madness. Drax is there because it provides firm, reliable baseload electricity, and that's so important. That's something that renewables can never provide because they are not a reliable technology. They just generate however much, according to the sun, according to the wind, and that doesn't always tie up with when demand is at the highest. So, you do need that reliable firm capacity. We have gas power stations, we had coal power stations, we have nuclear power stations that can provide that. And of course, now Drax is a massive component in providing that reliable electricity that we need at the moment. So even though it's absurd from an environmental perspective, even though it's absurd from an air pollution perspective, it's in the top 10 most polluting power stations in Europe. This is complete madness. It makes so much more sense just to have some gas power stations there. It would be better for CO2. It would be better for air quality. And of course, it could be done in a reasonably short space of time. There was a crucial analysis, actually, which was, was it going to be cheaper just to have gas power stations or to keep subsidizing Drax, as Ed Miliband wants to do? But we haven't seen that analysis. The public needs to see these numbers because the government is hiding the fact that actually there are cheaper, cleaner alternatives to Drax. But crucially, these alternatives wouldn't enable them to keep pretending we're on this path to net zero. They wanted the numbers to stack up. We have these absurd things called carbon budgets. These are 5-yearly plans, and that we have to stay on schedule as long as we're being governed by the Climate Change Act. This is a straitjacket, and it means every sector of the economy has to be planned, all the way up to 2050. This is state planning, taken to its extremity. We thought 5-year plans under communism was crazy. We're now planning ahead to 2050.
Yeah, which was the straight jacket put on the nation by Theresa May, of course. Absolutely ridiculous. Gary Smith, the head of the leader of the GMB, the massive GMB union, as you said, Harry, the way the unions are looking at it, of course, the Labour Party's old allies and their funders, the unions is saying, hang on a second, this net zero thing is going to lose our members thousands of jobs. Gary Smith calls Ed Miliband and the government's net zero policies, and I quote, bonkers. So allies of Labour are going, hang on a second, this is mad. And you talked about Alok Sharma cheering the closure of this coal mine. Hooray! Thousands of people lost a job. Isn't that brilliant? Well, I tell you, an even worse act of vandalism was the fracking unit over in Lancashire, that they not only closed down because a few grannies were going around with placards saying save the planet, and if we start fracking here there will be huge earthquakes in Blackpool. Absolute claptrap, absolute nonsense. So the government go, oh, this is a Tory government. Oh, okay, fair enough. Not only did they close it down, they filled it with concrete, so it can never be fracked. We've just discovered under Lincolnshire is arguably the biggest reservoir of shale gas in all of Europe. If we frack that up, the people of Britain would get cheap energy probably for 10 years. Remember when Barack Obama, of all people, Democrat president, allowed fracking, mass-scale fracking in Texas and all across the south of America, they brought up shale gas that will provide Americans with cheap energy for 125 years, and they've got so much, and here's the final irony, they're selling it to us. But of course we can polish our halos because we don't frack. We just buy it. Again, it's hypocritical insanity.
What kind of country turns up its nose at hundreds of billions of pounds potentially worth of energy right under our feet that could support jobs in the north, in the Red Wall as it was called, we heard so much from politicians over the years about rebalancing the economy away from the southeast, away from London, which was hoovering up all the money, all the jobs, all the growth, because there was, and there still is, this terrible economic imbalance within our country. You know, the north of England, the Midlands, these used to be our economic heartlands, and it's been tragic to see a lot of those industries lost. And we were provided with a fantastic opportunity to get our own secure, safe from a national security perspective, energy that could also create jobs and actually have a cleaner energy system than the alternative, which is importing that LNG, that fracked natural gas from the United States.
Yeah. As long as we don't do it, it's okay.
And then decompressed. And of course, travel across the sea. You know, this is all anti-emissions to the system.
It is so mad, but really, really frightening. And you go around the country, I talk to a lot of people, I get a lot of phone calls here on this show. And, you know, Reform UK are onto something. One of their most attractive propositions, and I know millions of people around the country are going, we'll have some of that. They're just saying, vote for us. We will end net zero. No more green claptrap. None of this. We'll revert to cheap energy for all of you. No more green nonsense. People love that, and that may be one more reason why Reform UK will rise and rise. Our political class have decided that it is good for us that they're able to virtue signal about their green credentials, and I think they're going to catch a cold. They're going to learn a lesson in the fullness of time that you can't just force the people down a path that they don't want to go, and actually the people are right, because it's mad. It's what we're looking at is mad. Our country has gone mad. Harry, well, the last thought from you. Last question to you. Is there a chance that Starmer will see sense and get rid of this lunatic Ed Miliband, who I believe is arguably the most dangerous man in Britain?
I think there's a big chance. There's clearly increasing tensions within government. You've got Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, you know, talking about building new runways, investing in roads, things that are actually carbon-intensive activities that Ed Miliband is clearly opposed to. So, you know, I'm watching that internal Labour Party debate very closely. But the bigger picture here is that the British public have an instinct. They can tell that net zero is leaving them poorer. They know it, they can feel it in their pockets, they can see it in their energy bills, they can see the jobs that are leaving this country. And there's huge anger about that. And however many times Ed Miliband says wind is cheap and we can just build more renewables and energy bills come down, that myth has been exploded. People know that this isn't true and the government needs to change direction.
Harry, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. Let's talk again soon. That's Harry Wilkinson, head of the Global Warming Policy Foundation. This lunacy can't go on, can it?
It can't. It genuinely can't. And you're right about Keir Starmer. He has to ditch him, because if Starmer wants growth, no economy in the history of the world has ever grown on high energy prices. That's the reality of it. High energy prices lead to zero growth. Every economist will tell you that. Every historian will tell you that. And this is what's really important. I get the feeling that Starmer is leading him on, and will dump all of this on Ed, and he'll then have to do the U-turn. And I think Harry hit the nail on the head that it is the Climate Act. Do you know how the ECHR is the one that we think will change all the asylum seeker issues? That act, is the Climate Change Act, is the one for net zero. We have to get rid of that, because even reform, you have to get rid of it, because he's right about the 5-year frameworks, he's right about the budgets. It is all so tightly knitted together that net zero is an inevitability under that act. So you've got to repeal that first before anything else.
And we can send a thank you card to Theresa May for straitjacketing us with that ludicrous piece of legislation. I mean, that's the point. Too many, as I say, too many politicians in the Westminster bubble have prioritised their own halo polishing, their own virtue signaling, we're going to save the planet, over the practicalities, the reality of life for millions of Brits. They can't afford this, and they don't want to know. They don't want to know. So either they get rid of Miliband and change direction, or this Labour government will be in even deeper trouble than they are
really
now.
quickly, Harry is right about the internal division over this, because Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband are forming a kind of pro-net zero kind of alliance because Angela Rayner's got all the house building stuff together. There is a real division being drawn on net zero, and a lot of the backbenchers are starting to snipe over a lot of this stuff as well, because they're seeing their majorities and they're like, oh, hello.
Totally right.
That's the big one.
Totally right. The wind will change direction, I'm pretty certain. Was it Richard Littlejohn wrote in the Mail the other day that Angela Rayner wants to put solar panels on the millions of houses she's not going to build.
Yeah.
What a shambles this government is. But let me know what you think. We've got to get rid of this green claptrap. Forget net zero. Sod it. You know, we would be so much happier, so much richer, so much warmer in the winter if we didn't have net zero. Get rid of net zero. Don't even think about it ever again, and Britain would be a brighter, better place, wouldn't it? 03444, like more secure as well.
Just security aspect.
Let me know. 034. Well, that's my feelings made plain. Pete agrees with me. That's rare.
If we agree with each other.
Yeah, if we agree, it must be true. 03444 499 1000. Let me know what you think. Your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes, and your messages when we come back. Stay where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah. Welcome back. Still with Pete Barnes, political strategist, my Friday friend, or sort of friend. We usually argue furiously, but we are friends. We are friends, seriously. We'll go to the phones in just a second. I better read a couple of messages. This is from Nigel. Regarding Lucy Connolly, MI5's intelligence gathering messages for the 50,000 or so Islamists of interest in this country involve a variety of techniques, including human intelligence, digital surveillance, and analysis of open source information, including social media. I question whether locking Lucy Connolly up because of her social media post ahead of this group of Islamists is protecting the country. Well, that was a masterclass in understatement, Nigel. Absolutely, very good point. 50,000 potential terrorists are under constant surveillance in this country by MI5. Many of them asylum seekers, small boat people who came here illegally. It's unbelievable. Here's Ian. Millipede, as in Ed Millipede, is...
I love the nicknames we give to people now.
Millipede's good. Crazy Ed, I like.
Crazy Ed,
Millipede is a sin, a single interest... something head or nitwit if you can't say knob. Great show. Thank you, Ian in Hemel Hempstead, luring me into naughty words there. Right, let's go to oh look, we got a lot of WhatsApp voice notes. Better play one before we go to the phones. This is Chris on the migrants.
Hi Kev, Chris from Sevenoaks. Great show, by the way. Can someone please tell me why we have to give the immigrants any money or any benefits whatsoever? I just don't understand why we can't just cut it off.
I couldn't agree with more.
There are some statutory requirements that certain council areas have to provide things on, but again, we could pull it if we wanted to.
Don't do it. You know, the French wouldn't do it. The Germans will. Look, it is, you know, the first thing they get when they get here is like £49.50 a week benefits. Well, don't give them that. Don't give them free lawyers. Why do we give them free lawyers? You know, legal aid, sod it. You know, pay for it yourself. You want to come over here, you pay for your own. If we didn't give them all this stuff, they wouldn't come. Yeah. There you go. Migrant crisis solved. Let's go to the phones and let's talk to Rob in Bath. Hello, Rob. Are you there, Rob? Rob?
Hello, Kevin.
Oh, hi. I knew you'd be there in the end. I thought you might be in the bath. Yeah. OK, Rob, you want to talk about the migrant crisis, yeah?
No.
This is a bad line.
Yeah, well, mainly about Keir Starmer being in...
Rob, you're going to have to ring back...
Keir Starmer in Albania.
OK, yeah, but this line is coming in and out. Try again, go on. No, Rob, you're going to have to ring back. That line's hopeless. That was Rob in Bath. Hopefully he'll ring back. Let's go to East Yorkshire and talk to David. You want to talk about Millipede, Ed Millipede, do you, David? What would you like to say?
Yeah, I do. I live just round the corner from a big modern hospital, Castle Hill. It's a cancer hospital, basically, in cardiac. And Millipede came to announce the acres and acres of these solar panels. Now, I think he got an easy interview. They didn't really ask him anything difficult.
Yeah.
One thing he wasn't pointed out to him was that there is a deep suspicion that the Chinese can listen in.
Well, I read today that actually that there's talk that in America it's been proved that the Chinese-made solar panels being used in the States have got secret off switches that the Chinese can switch off. Now, if they've done this to us as well, we learnt this week that Chinese-made electric cars can be dysfunctioned by Chinese over there in Beijing, and now it looks like our solar panels can be...
It was the same with Huawei, with their integration into the telecoms network. They could turn that off as well.
The thing about that company is I could never work out how to say it. Huawei. Huawei. I mean, yes, you're right, David. Good point.
You're just a bit ahead of me. That was what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
I was coming to that. But when it's a cancer ward and a cardiac ward, if ever those inverters were switched off, you got a lot of people going to die.
Yeah. And
yet Millipede knew nothing about it.
Oh, he definitely knew about it. He just didn't want to talk about it.
He knew about it. Didn't want to talk about it. We should have broached David with Harry Wilkinson, of course, that before too long, Ed Miliband's insane, deranged policies will plunge this country into darkness. Yeah. We will get power cuts like the Spanish just experienced, suffered, endured. We're going to get that, and when we get that, David, that's it. This government's finished.
I think he should be asked point blank, are you aware of the security risks of being switched off or not? Look, a yes-no answer.
He won't give you an answer. No. This man is an evangelist. He suffers from the madness of utter certitude.
You'll see that as a kind of necessary risk.
He's insane. He's insane. He's an evangelist, a zealot, gripped by a kind of mad certitude. Yeah. The most frightening people in the world are those who have utter certitude. You should always question everything. I'm not certain about anything. Ed Miliband has no doubts whatsoever that running this country into the ground, turning us into medieval mud hut dwellers is the way to go. And it's not the way to go. David, good call. I've got to move on, though. Thank you very much. David in East Yorkshire there. This is from Tony in Derbyshire. Quick message. What the hell is wrong with this government? We are sitting on shale gas and other energy sources. Let's break it down so they understand. If you've got an allotment in your back garden, you don't go to the supermarket to buy vegetables. Fuming. Good point, Tony. Absolutely. We've got so much
Oh, yeah.
free energy available to us in this country, out in the North Sea, underneath, shale gas all over the place. And as you say, we're going elsewhere to buy it. Mad.
There was a big poll out that actually said the majority of the public want North Sea oil drilling that was out just this week. And the head of British Gas said that any of this stuff is not going to bring down energy prices. But the most important one at the moment is security.
Yeah.
You know, we're reliant on pipelines that go through places that are not very stable at the moment. Maybe we should start looking at home to have our energy security. Energy security has been a big thing for a very long time. I studied it at university, and that was a long time ago for me, and yet now we're still having this argument and we're not doing anything about it. The world is so dangerous right now. We need to secure our energy supply. It is literally under our feet and we're not doing it. It is irresponsible.
It really is. It is. That's what it is.
It's criminal, really.
Let's, before we go to break, Rob in Bath will come back to you. He's gone back on the phone. Let's hope we've got a better line this time. Let's play a WhatsApp voice note from Sandra. She wants to talk about the migrants and woke civil servants. Take it away, Sandra.
Hi, Kevin and Peter. It would appear that woke civil servants are now in charge of the illegal immigration issue, whereby mostly undocumented men are getting a free pass into the country. At some point, something major is going to go down in this country, and there'll be lots of clutching of pearls and navel gazing. But what it will actually mean potentially is lost lives. Thank you.
Yeah, the very good point, Sandra. Very good point. And
you can feel it, can't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm still. You know, we were talking earlier about those Iranian terror plot suspects. 8 of them. You know, we know. The government, the police have begrudgingly revealed that one of them was an asylum seeker. I'll bet you the rest are too. Now, they didn't succeed, but imagine if they did. Sandra's exactly right. Before too long, there's going to be some kind of awful terrorism, awful terror incident, a bombing or an attack on a building. People will die, and we will discover that all of the perpetrators are asylum seekers, illegal migrants, and then all hell will break you loose. This is what we're building up to because, as we discussed earlier, they're just pouring into this country, no questions asked. We don't know anything about them, and it is a recipe for catastrophe. It really is. Let's go back to a break, and then when we come back, more phone calls. Stay where you are.
This is a tried and tested method. It's been working, it's regulated, it's monitored. There are different systems elsewhere in the world. We're not doing that, we're doing the Oregon model, and also we're making it the British model, and that's what's important about today. MP saying, this is our template, how can we make it as good as possible? So yes, it avoids any loopholes, but it also allows those people who want to let go. Now frankly, most of us will carry on to our last breath. Yeah. Those people in agony, we've got to give them that option, that right, that choice. It's their death, their body. Why can't they have that right to let go?
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just about 10 minutes until it's my show, What Just Happened. That's straight after the 9 o'clock news. But we've got a few minutes left with you. Here's another WhatsApp voice note. This is Daz. Take it away, Daz.
Evening, Kev. I've been in Kent all day and I drove through Manston. Mate, it was beautiful with the sun's out. I didn't see a single soul. Don't think there's anybody there. But anyway, just tell Pete to give his head a wobble. He likes to bang on, oh, this is terrible, this is shameful, this is a disgrace, oh, this can't go on, this is unacceptable. And then at the end he'll go, hey, vote Tory. Give your head a wobble, Pete. Cheers, Kev.
Give my head
I wonder where that was going.
I know, I was wondering where that
Good
was
for
going.
you, Daz.
Yeah.
Good for you, Daz. Do you want a little personal story? I know Manston Airport well.
Yeah.
Do you know what my dad did for a living? He was an immigration officer.
Yes.
And he used to. He was based in Dover, so I grew up for a while there. We moved around a lot. Very pathetic youth that I had. Anyway, he used to have to go to all these small airports. There's one called Lyd. And Manston was the one, so I used to go there all the time, and he used to stick me in the cafe and give me a Coca-Cola and a packet of crisps while he went and talked to all the pilots and that. But anyway, well, there's an interesting story. There you go. Let's finish our WhatsApp voice notes. This is the last one. This is Chris on David Lammy.
Hi, it's Chris from Gloucestershire. Just wondering on this David Lammy thing, how did his wife get originally to Italy? Did we have to pay for that as well? I mean, you go from Italy to France, fair enough, but why, if he was there on official business, how did his wife get to Italy? Did she come at a later date at her own expense, or did we foot that bill too? Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Chris, but we did establish that David Lammy paid for this taxi himself. That's a bone of contention, but it wasn't paid for by the government. His wife, Rosalind Green, a really good artist, was with him. I'm not quite sure what she was doing in Italy, but he was there on official business, so she was in a taxi going from Bologna or near Bologna to the French Alps. So still, you're right, though, because there's still stuff to come out on that.
Kind of, but notice all these kind of socialists don't half like private jets and private travel, don't they?
Well, he's been all over the world. He's the biggest one of the lot. But as I always say, there is nothing more frightening in politics than a socialist with an expense
Very
account.
true.
Look at this bunch of scroungers. They
Lindsay
really are.
Hoyle.
Right, let's. I think Rob, who had a bad line earlier, let's hope it's better now. Rob in Bath. Hi, Rob.
Hello, Kev. Can you hear
That's
me?
much better, much better. What would you like to say? You want to talk about the migrant crisis, yeah?
Well, more about Starmer being in Albania.
Yeah. No one knows why.
Do you remember back in the 50s and 60s, there was a very famous comedian called Norman Wisdom?
Yes, I remember Norman Wisdom, yeah.
He was loved in Albania.
I remember that King Zog thought he was terrific, didn't he? Yeah.
That's right. And he made a record called Albania.
Did he?
Yeah, he was loved in Albania, but he wasn't the biggest comedian to be there.
Yeah. He's not. He was funny, but not as funny as Keir Starmer, right?
No, not at all. That man has got no sense of reality.
Yeah. I just think he's that trip to Albania crystallised what we'd already knew, and that is this man. He is incompetent, and he's surrounded by incompetence. He went there to announce a migrant return hub in Albania on live television, and when he announced it, the leader of the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, said, "No, you can't have it." That is just astonishing.
The thing is, though, Edi Rama has been saying this since the Italy deal.
He should have known.
He's been saying like other countries have tried to do this. You're not having one. So even before any of this happened, the no was already there.
Absolutely.
Which makes me do believe that this was either a setup or there is another kind of you've got to take your lesson kind of. There's something else going on behind the scenes.
But either way, it's the Prime Minister and 10 Downing Street, and
embarrassing.
their job is
Yeah.
to see where the trouble is
Yeah.
coming from and to see where the grenades are being lobbed from.
This wasn't a
And they
grenade,
should have
it was
put
an
it was
ICBM.
wrong. It was a mess, Rob. It was a mess, Rob. Listen,
He doesn't understand the word no. We've said no to these illegal immigrants.
Yeah, we said no to rejoining the EU as well, and it looks
Yeah.
like he's going to do that as well. Rob, I've got to move on. I'm glad you got a good line in the end. Call me again. Nice chat. Rob in Bath. And very quickly, because she's been waiting, and she is in Felixstowe, and her name is Mandy. Hello, Mandy.
Good evening, and to Pete as well.
Hi.
All this idiocy that we're getting out of Keir Starmer, what's going to happen if he gets us back into the EU? I was a leaver. Where do we stand?
Well, I mean, he's pretty much seems to be on course to get us back into the EU in all but name. Ironically, over the last couple of weeks, last week when he sealed those halfway passable trade deals with India and America, that enshrined Brexit. Yep. That was a deal that we did outside of the EU, and insofar as we can't go back on it, we can't really rejoin the EU either because of that. So I'm not sure he realised that, but somehow or other he at least gave us some hope that Brexit will survive there.
Yeah, so basically I've said this from day one, is that Keir Starmer's job this Parliament is to bring us into alignment so that in the next Parliament, when there is basically a little bit more of an appetite for the referendum or the next political move to bring us back into the European Union, which is on track to happen, it is this basically you just walk straight in. The big now problem are these free trade agreements and the new relationship that we have with what is going to be India, which is one of the booming economies, and America, the biggest economy. You know, those two deals, you are right, have just thrown everything into complete chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like you said, Number 10 have realised that, or they've realised the consequences of it, which is probably the more likely situation, given what we've just seen in
Well, if the
Albania.
consequence is we can't rejoin the EU, good for Keir, but I think you're right. He didn't quite
I
think
don't think
about
he's not, yeah. Sometimes the unintended consequences actually falling on our side for a change.
so Mandy, we might be all right thanks to those trade deals, but I'm very